If you're worried about getting laid off, this episode is for you. I'm Greg. I'm the introverted networker, and I teach introverts to be better networkers. Nobody wants to get laid off. I've had it happen to me twice in my career, and both times it was a pretty dejecting experience. It's that feeling that nobody wants you, that your job tells you we're better off without you. It's a terrible feeling. When it happens to you, you don't really know what to do first. And so a lot of people spend time trying to figure out, they get their resume out, they start to update it, they start to send it out to people. They don't really have a plan. It's a very disorienting time. And from what I'm hearing, there are a lot of people out there these days that are worried about being laid off. There's a Twitter account I follow, a guy named The Random Recruiter, posted a survey he found today where 50% of workers are worried about getting laid off this year. And 35% of those were very worried, very concerned that they might lose their job this year. If that's you, or if you're just concerned, or you've ever thought, hey, what would I do if I get laid off? I'm going to give you 3 suggestions or 3 recommendations of things you can do today to be ready if that happens to you. The key thing with getting laid off is it usually happens really fast and nobody's prepared. Nobody thinks about it. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, I'll network later. And what happens is later turns into never. That's something I always tell my kids, is if they tell me they're going to do their homework later, I say, you might as well just say you're going to do it never. They hate me for that. But the truth is, if you say I'll do it later, you're really just saying I'll do it never. In order to get ready or be prepared for a layoff, you've got to take action today. There are steps you need to take today. And it's not just keeping your resume up to date. That's fine if that's what you want to do. But there's other things you can be doing. And these are things you can do a little bit at a time, a little bit every day. You know me, every one of my episodes, I talk about making networking a habit and doing things a little bit at a time so that you don't have to do it all at once. Because growing your network and having it ready to help you if you get laid off is something that you have to start now. You have to put in time and you have to grow a network. It's like a garden. You have to plant the seeds, take care of the seeds, water the seeds before they're going to grow into anything that's going to be useful to you. That's where I think a lot of people really struggle, is because they don't do this when they have a job. And they might be afraid they're going to get laid off and they're just hoping that it's not them. But there was tons of layoffs happening this past week, big companies announcing lots of layoffs. And those people probably thought it's not going to happen to me. But if that's you, you need to start doing something today. So hopefully you'll take these suggestions, put them into action. You'll be farther along. I hope you don't get laid off. I hope it never happens. But these are things that even if you never get laid off will be great for helping you find other opportunities. So whether or not you're worried about being laid off, whether you think it's going to happen this year or you hope it doesn't happen to you and maybe it doesn't happen to you, these are all good things you should be doing all the time in order to keep your network vibrant and ready to help find you opportunities. Let's get into this. The first thing that you need to do to prepare for a layoff is sit down and think of the first 5 people you would tell that you had got laid off. Family excluded, not your partner, not your kids, not your parents, not your aunts and uncles. Who are 5 people that you know that you would tell if you got laid off? Who are the first 5 people? So picture this thing happening where you get told you're being laid off and you go leave your job. Who are the first 5 people you'd call or email? Put those people's names on a list. I want you to make a list of those 5 people. And then this next week, each day, I want you to reach out to one of them. Send one of them an email or give them a call or send them a text message. And you're going to say, hey, I thought of you the other day. You did, because you put their name on the list. I thought of you the other day and I realized we hadn't talked in a while. I wanted to reach out and see how you were and maybe reconnect and have a conversation. That's it. You don't need anything from this person. You haven't gotten laid off yet. You don't need to talk to them. You don't need to ask them for anything. You're not trying to get a job. You're just trying to reconnect with this person, and do one of those a day. That's pretty doable. That's something you could probably fit into your day. Will probably take you less than 15 minutes, less than 1% of your day. Get back in touch with 5 people. Now, if you do that for a week and you say that was pretty easy, add 5 more people to the list. Start thinking of people that you would want to reach out to if you got laid off. Now, this is going to help you have conversations and start networking and reconnecting with those dormant ties. But do it now. Get it going. Get in the habit. Get that network going. And then that way, if anything does happen, you've already talked to these people. It's not like you're reaching out to them in your time of need when you have to tell them you got laid off. So you're already having this conversation with them. So that's number 1. Reach out to the first 5 people you would tell if you got laid off today. Number 2, create your target company list. Sit down and think about what you currently do and what you want to do. Maybe it's the same thing. Or think about companies you've always wanted to know about in terms of places to work, companies you would like to work, companies you've always wanted to work, companies in your area that are well thought of, companies that hire people like you. Sit down and come up with a target company list, the TCL, the target company list, and write those companies' names down on a piece of paper. Actually, I want you to go into a document, Word document, Google Doc, whatever you use to capture things and print documents. Put that list together and format it like you would format a resume. Make sure it's got the right fonts, everything's consistent, things are spelled right, there's bullet points, things are grouped. Put together a nice target list of companies. It can be 10 to 20. It doesn't have to be 100. You can have more if you want. I would recommend you don't do too many of these, but 10 to 20. If you want to do 30, okay. But put this list together and have this list. You're going to do 2 things with this list. Number 1, you're going to start following these companies on LinkedIn and you're going to see what they're posting. You're going to get to know and learn more about them. And you're also going to start looking for people who work at these companies that also post on LinkedIn so you can connect with them. So you're going to want to find people who work at these companies that are active on LinkedIn are posting, and you're going to start following them. You're going to start commenting on their posts. You're going to start to become known to people at these companies. Now, how much of this do you have to do? You can do a few minutes a day. You don't have to do this every day, but use your list as a guide to who you want to follow. Don't just go and scroll through your feed. Start finding new people, these companies to follow. That's going to help you start to get to know what people are like at these companies. What do they talk about? What problems do they have? What are they working on? All things that kind of help you move the networking along. So that's number 1. Number 2, you're just going to keep that list. And as you have conversations with these people, the first 5 people you reconnected with, you might say to them, hey, I'm not really looking right now, but I'm trying to meet people at these companies. Here's my target company list. Take it with you. And if you know somebody at one of these, I'd love to meet them and get introduced to them. So that's the other thing. And they might know somebody, they might not. And they may take it with them and it's 2 or 3 months down the road and they meet somebody and they're like, oh, hey, you work at this company? I know Greg, he wants to meet somebody there. Could I introduce you? So get that target company list into the hands of the people that you reconnected with. So that's number 2. Make sure you have your target company list. Use it to connect with people on LinkedIn and give it to people who you're talking to so they can introduce you to people at those companies. The last thing is, you're going to need to get more active on LinkedIn. If you're not already, you're going to need to start spending time there. And the reason for that is it's going to take a little bit of time to find the right people to follow. It's going to take a little bit of time to engage with comments. It's going to take a little bit of time to connect. These are all things you want to do now when you're not, again, desperate because you just got laid off. Things that you can organically build the relationship, things where you can give feedback and advice and suggestions to new people you've connected with on LinkedIn so they see you as someone who adds value. And if you feel like it and you want to start posting about your expertise or what you do, and you can do it in a way that, doesn't, reveal anything about your current employer, start to be that person who shares your advice and things on LinkedIn. That will, again, help you be known. It will start to build credibility. And when people see you, they might reach out to you and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about roles at my company. Now, you may not be wanting to leave your company. You're just afraid you're going to get laid off. But it's always good to have these conversations already going, because you never know when that layoff's going to come. I'll tell you a little bit of story about me, and then I'm going to wrap it up. I got laid off in 2012 for the first time, and it took me 3 months to find a job. That's when I first learned how to network without going to events, how to network as an introvert. That was, I had to learn, and that's where I learned. And so then I kind of worked on the method. I worked on my 5-step process, which I've shared in other places over the years. And that process helped me find other jobs. And so I moved around, I got progressively better jobs. I advanced my career by using that process. I got to a role where I kind of started to get the impression there were going to be some changes. It was a privately held company, private equity owned. They switched private equity owners, and the new owners, of course, wanted to reduce expenses. Kind of heard that was coming, kind of knew it was coming. So I felt like, okay, I'm scared I could be part of the layoffs. I didn't know, but I thought it could be coming. I started to do this. I started to reach out to my dormant ties. I started reconnecting, and I started talking to some people. And some of those conversations, I had people saying, hey, we're thinking about this role at this organization. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, I'm always interested in hearing about it. And so I was almost sort of interviewing informally before I got laid off. And then what I thought was going to happen happened, and I did. I got laid off in November of 2017. I already had this conversations going about this new role at this organization I wanted to work at, and I got a job in 3 weeks. So I turned months into weeks by activating that network in advance when I was afraid of the layoff. And it landed a job just like that. Like, to be honest, like when I got laid off, I was kind of far enough along with this other one that I was like, I'm probably just going to get that job. If I hadn't got laid off, I probably would have taken the job anyway. But I had already, kind of pre-interviewed and gone through the process so that when it did happen, I wasn't even really that upset about getting laid off. I mean, I did feel like, hey, I'm kind of bummed because they didn't really want me. But at the same time, I was so excited about my new role, I moved right into that. So it just kind of shows, if you think you're going to get laid off and you start to do some of these things, you start to get your networking going, it's really going to shorten that time that it takes to land the next role. So those are my 3 suggestions, 3 things that you can do today if you're worried about getting laid off. It's really going to make your job search easier. I hope those help. Try them out. Let me know how it goes. I'm here to help you. I will always love to hear your successes. If you're struggling with anything, I'd love to hear about those things too. So until next time, go out, meet some interesting people, always be connecting.